Quite besides anything else, young, dumb, and full of Christ is one of the greatest lines in cinematic history.
With all the pieces on the table, this crime appears impossible.
Rian Johnson spent 2 films excellently just smacking down rich people in every way you could possibly imagine. So what should he move on to next? Religion, you say? What is there to make fun of there? Strap it in, strap on, kids, it's on. Wake Up Dead Man stars Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Jeremy Renner, Keely Spenny, Mila Kunis, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Daryl McCormick, and Thomas Hayden Church in the latest Benoit Blanc film. Surely they're going to run out of people to cast soon. They've already had to cast Jeremy Renner, even though they made fun of Jeremy Renner hot sauce in the last film. That's already okay, doesn't matter. So Josh O'Connor is a young priest brought into the parish of this other, more dominant, terrifying, weird priest who's really interested in masturbation, and then he dies in a seemingly impossible manner, triggering Benoit Blanc to turn up and get involved, yes, and triggering his fanatical followers to turn on Josh O'Connor faster than Donald Trump fans turn on someone he doesn't like. But there's no similarities between Josh Brolin's character and Donald Trump. Once again, Rian Johnson puts together something special here. This one is different from the others in a few ways. The religious setting is a notable change of course, but also the opening act, nearly 40 minutes before Blanc turns up. And that's just O'Connor's character, like, explaining through everything that's happened up to this point, up to the murder and Blanc arriving. And that's interesting. It was a little bit different. There's a lot of fun poked at religion, but also I feel like one of the major differences here is that Rian Johnson tore down rich people in both of the first 2 films, in different types of rich people, but he tore them down completely. That was the point. He didn't have anything good to say about them. I'm not saying he's necessarily got a lot of good to say about religion, but I think this film does show, whether it's inadvertent or not, how religion can be a good thing for certain people, and how it can help certain people. And I don't know if that was, but it's an interesting point, but it does add an element of earnestness to especially the second half of this film, which, I don't know if it's quite as suitable for this franchise. This franchise is so strong when it is both a great comedy film and a great mystery or crime film. And both of the first 2 films in the franchise, I felt like they had no problems matching complete masterpiece energy on both those sides. This one, it really drops the majority of the comedy in the second half, and I've got to say, that first kind of hour, I wouldn't say it drags. That's a harsh word. And I'm having to do this review after just one watch, and for both of the first 2 films, I appreciated them more after rewatches. But I feel like this is my least favourite. The way they engage in the cult of personality ideas with Brolin's character is so interesting. I think this entry very much matches Knives Out more than Glassonion in a few ways. You know, Blanc does feel more like a side character in his own film, and that's how Knives Out was very much. Josh O'Connor feels like the main character here, and that is part of it, but also the fact that this feels like a much more classically styled detective story. It feels like one of those, I mean, they mention various actual whodunit cases where it's this kind of impossible crime idea, and that's very much how this treads, and the kind of religious setting, the small town setting, they help it feel like it is this classic story, a bit more of the timeless feel that Knives Out went for, over the very era-bound ideas of Glass Onion. That's not a problem, there's not an issue with that, it's just, that's how it feels to me, this one. There are still some twists and turns for sure, but they never feel as what, and there's nothing like kind of at the hour mark, or like end of the first act, start of the second act. There was a massive twist in both of the last films around that mark, which was very useful. For an over 2-hour film, which this is again, that was so useful at keeping the pacing feeling fantastic, just perfect. There's nothing like that in this one, and I think it's fair to say that it does suffer a little bit from that. It's not, it's not a horrible thing, it's not a bad thing, but I do feel like that's part of what maybe makes this my least favourite of the 3. Or I could rewatch it in a few weeks and turn around and say it's my favourite of the 3, but I kind of doubt it. Feels like there are some characters this time around that are slight nothing burgers. Characters. And again, this is judging on such a high scale, because Knives Out and Glass Onion both felt like they had so many of the side characters came so alive and jumped to the fore anytime they were in a scene, and that doesn't happen with this one. The side characters aren't quite as whoa, and there are characters like Mila Kunis as the detective. I was waiting for a twist to do with her character, because she was so, like, there, but completely in the background, like nothing, was doing nothing for me, and yeah, it didn't really come. And she's not the only character that I felt like that a little bit about, and yeah, I feel like it was almost trying to drag us into thinking it could be anyone this time by kind of having people feel like they were lurking in the background more, but it didn't really, well, I didn't have the answer. It still was like a when they do the big final reveal, but that always works, and it's not normally the only big in the film. And this one, it kind of was a little bit. There were other, like, reveals as it went on, but they just weren't quite at the same level. I don't think... this is still an excellently built vehicle for talking about the issues and topics it wants to talk about. They're quite serious ideas. There was something unnaturally terrifying about Josh Brolin's character. He was scarier and weirder than Thanos, and Glenn Close was definitely at least as scary as Cruella de Vil. It's not important. There's just a lot of things here that I felt like it didn't quite hit the heights for me. But it is still just so solid across the board that you can't actually, complain very much to any degree. It's the bottom of the barrel for this franchise, but this is a very good franchise to be at the bottom of the barrel for, because it does not mean that you're not a pretty great film, and this is. I know that. It's just hard to... Well, I feel like you always feel disappointed when you first see one of these a little bit, and then on rewatch, normally I feel better about it, so we'll see. I'll let you know. But for now, I'm giving the cast Andrew Scott and 2 separate other hot priests. Clearly trying to convert people. 4 stars. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to, like, you're expecting so much from one of these films at this stage that, yeah. After watching Knives Out, I was kind of disappointed watching Glass Onion for the first time, and then I rewatched it and went, no, this is amazing. This one... Again, I feel like it's not going to happen, but it could. Anyway, you'll have to subscribe, and I'll let you know.